Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Karras. I teach here in the ceramics program at Concordia University, and I'm very happy to be virtually hosting this talk, which has been organized by the Nowruz Project and Concordia Ceramics Program alum from the class of 2020, Reyhan Ibrahimi. As the virtual hosts of this visit, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded indigenous lands. The Ganegahaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. Chochega, Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connection with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. And just a reminder that if you have questions during the talk, please feel free to pose them in written form using the chat or the Q&A function, and Reyhan and I will go through questions verbally at the end of the talk as time allows. For now, I'd ask that you turn your video off and keep yourselves muted to avoid any background noise interference and the bandwidth connection to keep it clear. And just so you know, we are recording this Zoom. Next, I'd like to introduce Reyhan Ibrahimi, who will be introducing our special guest for the Nowruz Project, Abbas Akbari.
Yes, thank you, Matt. And hello, everyone. On behalf of myself and my colleagues in the Nowruz Project, I would like to welcome you all for joining us today. And also, I would like to thank you, the Ceramic Department of Concordia University, for co-hosting this event with us. Also, Concordia CCSL Special Project Funding for supporting us in this event. We are on the second day of spring, and this coincides with Nowruz period. Nowruz, meaning new day in Persian, is a 3,000-year-old ritual which is celebrated annually by diverse communities from Hindu Kush mountains, on the west of China, all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. This region includes Western Asia, Central Asia, the Caucasus, the Black Sea Basin, the Balkans, and South Asia. Nowruz is celebrated on the first day of spring, and it also marks the arrival of the new year in Persian solar calendar. So in the spirit of rebirth of nature, I would like to wish you all a happy Nowruz and happy spring. So we in Canada, of course, we appreciate this more than ever. Nowruz Project is a curatorial collective which focuses its practice on two key concepts of Nowruz: rebirth and reunion. Based on the capacity of the traditional concept, this collective intends to create an interactive space to foster intercultural dialogue between the artists and scholars of Nowruz celebrating regions and other cultures. So for this year's edition, we have been organizing a number of artist talks, and today I'm very, very honored to open these talks by a great Iranian ceramicist, Abbas Akbari. Akbari is both a scholar and artist, and he has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to researching and practicing Lustre techniques. I think Mr. Alan Kager-Smith, the well-known British potter and scholar, has well described Akbari's work by saying that Abbas Akbari combines a deep appreciation of tradition with a visionary imagination. His head, hand, and heart work together. It is rare to find a man who understands so well the balance between tradition and innovation. New things are generated by tradition, and without the example of those who have lived before us, we today would be naked, unable to achieve anything worthwhile. But without innovation and experiment, tradition would become simply a historic dead end. Abbas Akbari is a professor at University of Kashan, and he's a member of International Academy of Ceramics. He has received several awards, and his works are part of the collections of different museums. These museums are, some of them, I will name them, and the recent work has been collected in Victoria and Albert Museum in London, Musée Quai Branly, Jacques Chirac in Paris, HMLN Museum of Oxford, and also other museums in Argentina, Japan, Pakistan, Turkey, and these are just a few in the list. Before I pass the talk and before I join Abbas for welcoming, before I welcome him, I would like to once again thank my professors in fine arts faculty, both in ceramics and art history, for their openness in welcoming the plurality of voices in our community. Thank you very much. Welcome, Abbas.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First, I would like to thank organizers of this event. First, Nowruz Project, and also I would like to thank Ceramic Department of Concordia University, and also I want to say Happy Nowruz. So let's start my presentation, which title is Tracing the Contribution of Kashan City to the History of Lustre Pottery. As you see, my presentation has two parts. First part is about Kashan City, and second part is about Lustre. Please, next page. Before I talk about this image, I want to say where is Kashan. Kashan is the city 250 kilometers far from Tehran, close to desert. Of course, although Kashan is close to desert, but there is a special ecosystem around of Kashan because you can find everything that you need for pottery and ceramic. I mean, you can find very easy kaolin, feldspar, the cobalt, iron oxide, and other material like bentonite. That's why we have a very rich history in this area, which started from the Sialk Hills, which is about 7,000 years old. Now you can see on the top of this page one of image of two hills. I said two hills because actually there are two hills. One of them is North Hill and other is South Hill. First one about 80 years ago, both of them discovered by an excavation by a French archaeologist, I mean Romain Grishman. And also 20 years ago, again, we have re-excavation by Iranian archaeologist, late Nasser Malik Shahmirzadi. Both of them discovered a very beautiful object from this civilization that you can see just here, three of them, but you can, if you are interested, you can see more in Louvre Museum, also in National Museum in Tehran. Please, next page. Now I want to talk about the main part of my presentation. I mean Islamic period, which I put in this page 4 images from Seljuk till Safavid period. I didn't put before Seljuk and after Safavid because I cannot find a documentary about Lustre before Seljuk and after Safavid in Kashan, but we have very rich documentary between Seljuk and Safavid that you can see just 4 of them here with different function. At the left side, you can see beautiful vessel plate from Seljuk period. Although we have a lot of different production in Seljuk with Lustre technique, but main works are different kind of vessels like plate and bowl. And here I just select one of them, as you see at the left side. It's very beautiful. And second image is about the tiles from Mongol period, because main production in Mongol period are tile with Lustre technique, because the Mongolian kings love the palace and buildings. That's why they order to potters to makes beautiful Lustre tiles, as one of them that you see here. I think its original is in Louvre Museum. And third image is again tile, but with different function, and it's strange because it's for tomb, and for the people, they don't have a high position because this is, for example, just for Taylor in a man, he's from Aran, which is a small city close to Kashan. And at the right side, the last image is about bottled wine from Safavid time that you see. Again, we have glory of Lustre with different function because it's there is a more harmony with Lustre technique and with the atmosphere of the King Palace. That's you can see here different function of Lustre. Where I want to mention we have a Lustre history between Seljuk and Safavid, but with different function, as you see here. Please, next page. Here I compare two different works together. At the left side is a beautiful mihrab, very fine, from Kashan. That is in Mashhad Museum in north of Iran. And at the right side, you can see 4 plates from Iraq, Egypt, Syria, and Spain. I want to compare them because there is an old discussion about birthplace and origin of the Lustre with clay paste technique that I want to explain in next part. But here I want to just mention all of the researchers that they are not agree about birthplace. They are agree about quality of Lustre and design in Kashan. That's why I put 5 images beside of each other in this page, please. Next page. Now I select between a lot of vessels. This one because it's related to our time. I mean, Nowruz time. As you see, there are 7 balls combining together in one shape. And although there are different theory about function of this kind of vessels, but one of them is about we call it it is a spatial vessel for Hafsin, which is about the ceremony of Nowruz, because we put 7 objects that they start their name with the S, I mean like sip, that we call apple in Persian language sip, and 6 more also. Just I want to say this is Lustre, as you see, clay paste technique. It is from Kashan and related to our time, I mean Nowruz holiday. That was, I select this one. Okay. Just a minute, please. Now I want to show the movie. I think it's 5 minutes maximum. But before of that, I want to mention you because you can see from Sial Hills till contemporary time, rule of clay in this city. That's why we call Kashan is a city of clay. Please. Before I start second part, I want to say I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to mention you what you saw. It is just minimum of what you can see in Kashan, and if you come to Kashan, you can see more interesting things, especially beautiful houses. Anyway, I want to talk about the second part, that it is what is Lustre. First, I must say what is Lustre, because Lustre, we have different kind of Lustre, and if I want to explain about different of that, I must say what is that. Actually, Lustre is a metallic reflection that potters apply on different surfaces of a ceramic, like plate, like a tile, like balls, and other things. At the right side, you can see 5 rings that I made just for a sample of process of making lustre with clay paste technique, which is the main technique for lustre. But how we can make lustre ceramic? Actually, lustre ceramic, it is possible just by reduction firing, because as you know, we have 2 kinds of firing. One of them is normal firing, that we have enough oxygen for firing. And second one is reduction firing, that we don't have enough, and we have actually carbon monoxide. And as you know, carbon monoxide, interesting to catch another oxygen to be carbon dioxide. That's why the potter makes smoke inside of the kiln, and also we have another out of kiln. Then carbon monoxide take 1 oxygen from the pigments that the potter use in the combining of the glaze. And then when the pigments lose the oxygen, they back to a metallic form. That's why we call it reduction condition. So now I want to explain how many kind of lustre we have in reduction condition. Please, next page. I designed this model to explain what I want to say. As you see, we have at least 3 kind of lustre that they are important. I mean, they are main kind of lustre. At the left side is the first one, an important technique, because all of all discussion back to this technique, which we call it clay paste technique. In clay paste technique, we combining pigments with clay, and then with vinegar or water. Then we painting with this combining on surface of ceramic, which before we applied the thin glaze. Then we put in the special kiln that it is for reduction kiln. Then we firing around of 600 degree, sometimes less and sometimes more, depending on some factors. And after cooling and after reduction and finishing process of firing, and after cooling, we unloading the kiln. Then we take the pieces, then we rubbing clay part. And if we did everything very well, we can get good result. I mean, gold or red, depending also again different factors. This is very important technique, because we can paint with this technique very fine, and also it is different with other technique. I mean English, that I want to explain now, please. So in the middle, you can see English technique. In this technique, we combining pigments with the glaze and water. Then on the bisque, of course, we can before of that spray other glaze, black or cobalt, because it's important under this in this technique, because we can take different quality and color of English lustre if we use other color under the English lustre. Anyway, then you firing around of 1000 degree. Also, you can go more depending on your body. If you use a white body, you can firing more. And then you let to kiln to cool around of 700 till 800 degree. Then you make reduction. And during reduction, you can control your result, because it is possible you look at from the visor what's happening in the kiln. This is one of important point between inglaze and clay paste, because in clay paste technique, the luster is under the clay medium. That's why you cannot see what happened. But in inglaze, it's more easy. You can control what happened, and you can change also the quality of luster during reduction. And the final at the right side, it is actually a synthetic technique. I mean, you can mixing both of them. First, you must make inglaze ceramic luster, then you painting with clay paste, then again firing in reduction. After that, again, you're rubbing the clay part. If you did everything well, you have two kind of luster. Background is inglaze, and the design is a clay paste technique that I want to show in my works, three of them. Okay, next. Now I want to talk about all discussion, because about clay paste technique, as I said, is important technique. When we say luster technique in history of luster, our meaning is clay paste technique. There is an old discussion about birthplace and origin of this technique. Some people believe Iran is the first, and some also Iraq, and some thinking that Egypt is the first. That I try to show with this model, please. For this all the discussion, I categorize all of theory about them. There are four theories. The first one is theory of glass luster, because some researchers believe luster on ceramics comes from luster, glass luster, because we have one piece from Egypt in 2nd century after Hijri, luster on glass, and that's why some researcher believes this technique transfer from glass to ceramic. Second theory is a theory of dates on luster on ceramic, which we have first one in Kairouan mosque on tiles. And this is the oldest actually dates that we have on ceramic. And third one is theory of migration by Arthur Lane, because he believes that ceramic luster pattern comes from Egypt to Iran, because to find a new market, because at that time it was war in Egypt, so they moved to Iran to find new market and a safe place. That's why they brought with themselves to Iran this technique, and then Iranian pattern learned from them. That's why he tried to combine the influence of Egypt to Iranian luster world, you can see, as you see here, two plates. One of them is at left side from Egypt, and right side is from Iran. And the fourth one is theory of production centers multiplicity. That's, I think, Muhammad Zaki Muhammad Hassan from Egypt. It is strange because he's from Egypt, but he believes Iran is the first country for birthplace of clay paste luster, because he says in Iran we have Kashan, Rey, Save, and Jordan for centers, but in Iraq just we have Samarra, in Syria we have Raqqa, and in Egypt we have just Cairo. Next page, please. As I am interested for this whole discussion, and as I am also potter, I try to look at this whole discussion with other view. That's, I mean, from my experiment with clay and luster. I think it's better we think about the time of discover of the pigments that we use in the clay paste technique, because some of them are very special. The main one is silver nitrate, and I studied and understand Iranian alchemist, I mean Razes, that we call it Muhammad ibn Zakaria Razi, who was discovered this pigment. And it also, it is strange because he lives about 10 years in Iraq in 3rd or 4th century after Hijri, exactly same times with the vessels that we have problem for the date and the birthplace of them. And also, I want to mention other role of Iranian alchemist. I mean, Jaber ibn Hayyan. He's old of Zakaria. I mean, Razes. He's more important because he has book in 2nd century after Hijri. His book name is Ad-Durratul Maknuna, as you see at the right side, one page from his book, that show to us the reduction kill. Anyway, I want to mention just to the researcher, they must remember a contribution of Iranian alchemists in history of Lustre ceramic with this idea. Okay, next page. Now I want to show you 5 minutes again movie about process of clay paste luster technique, please. Before I talk about my experiments with the different kind of lustre, I want to say one more about contribution of Kashanian potter in history of lustre ceramic. As you saw in the video, this technique is not actually like a real glaze. It's just overglaze decoration, and it's more like alchemy. That's why it was like a secret for several years, and finally we understand how we can make this technique because of some old texts, which one of them is by Kashanian writer who was member of an important family, Lustre Potter family from Kashan. I mean Abu Tahir family. The last generation. One of the last generation was a writer in Mongol period, which name was Abul Qasim Abdullah Kashani. He wrote important texts about the secret of lustre for us, and that's why now we can say now one of the important of contribution of Kashanian pottery is the this text, because he explained all of process for us, and now we can understand how we can make this technique. Although we have one more old text, I mean Jawairname Nizami, and also, as I said, about Jabir ibn Hayyan ad-Durratul Maknuna. Okay, now I want to talk about some of just my experiments with this technique. As you see here, this is one of my last artworks, which title is Kashi and Kashan collection. I think it seems for you because it's like all the works that you can see from Kashan. Just I changed the design because the form and shape of the tiles are from the medieval time. I mean cross and star form. And also I use same technique. I mean clay-based lustre technique. Just I changed the design with my idea about this situation that I'm living in with that. I mean I design what I can see around of my life. Here you can see car and gun and train and something like that, because I want just to mention to the people we must care about nature, because we are killing by different things all beauty that we had before. Okay, next page. Here you can see at the right side one of my experiment with clay-based lustre, which was a reproduction of the old mihrab from Kashan. The original made by Hassan ibn Arab Shah and now is in Pergamon Museum in Berlin. I had one project which name was An Oriental Devotion. First, I made exactly same mihrab with the original. Then I mixing with some metal, especially with iron, because of course, I will explain for you in the next page why I use other material usually beside of my lustre works. But here just I want to mention about the concept of mihrab for me, because for me mihrab is a special place that we can be lover in front of that. And this is the memory when I went to my exhibition in An Gallery 5 years ago. Exactly in same times when I went in the gallery, I saw this cobble in front of my artworks, and I remember my statement about the concept of the mihrab. As you see here, they are in front of the mihrab as lover. Okay, next page. Here you can see at the left side exactly the mihrab that I said. I made exactly copy of the original. At the right side, in the top, you can see the my contemporary mihrab that I made with the Lustre tiles, and around of that there are the tiles with the bronze that I made, because just usually I want to mixing and combining some different material with my Lustre book, special metal, because as I said, the Lustre ceramic is the metallic reflection, and that's why I want to use metal beside of the metallic reflection, because during of the time you will what happened, it's the metals goes to be dark, but that's why Lustre works show itself more shiny. This is my idea that I using usually metal works beside of my Lustre ceramic. And also in the top, as you see, there is inside of the bronze, when I want to take the photo, it is a reflection of me inside of the mihrab, because I want to say also we can see ourselves in the mihrab. It's like Sufi's mind, something like that. And also you can see one tile with the quality of Lustre that I made with for this project. Okay, next one. Here is more image from this project. At the left side, you can see three more mixing ceramic with iron. There are also some of mihrab in for my project with different color, because I want to mention for morning, lunchtime, and evening with different color. And as now, if you, I have no here the image of this artworks. After 5 years, the metal part are now exactly very dark, and my Lustre works, I mean the balls that I put inside of the metal, show itself more shiny. That's why, as I said, I'm mixing sometimes different material with my ceramic. At the right side, you can see process of making at the left side. Okay. Now I want to talk about some of my vessels that I use Ingles technique. At the top is one bulb, inside is the copper that I made copper color that I made with reduction of 5% of copper carbonate. Outside is the standard glaze, I mean just black glaze, because I want to mention inside is more important outside with this technique. Usually I use the English technique just when I need the template color like this one. And under that, you can see different color with this technique. For different color, I use other pigment with copper like silver nitride. Okay, next page. Here is another my experiment about English technique. As you see, there are a different reflection of blue and gold together. For this quality of luster, I sprayed the English luster over of cobalt. That's why during reduction, I get different reflection of like rainbow, iridescence, something like that. And this is one of my works from the Jam Jam collection that I want to show you more. Okay. Here is, you can see some of my sculpture from Jam Jam collection. They are actually about the cosmos and galaxy, but the roots are coming from my vessels. As you see, they are similar to my vessels. Just I change a little them around about in space. And as you see, again, I use different color of English luster because I think there are different color in cosmos. And I think there is a harmony between luster glaze and the universe. Okay. Here is one of my experiment about installation that I use again English Lustre for planet, and I try to make similar effects like a planet. And I made for this project, I think more than 1,000 balls with English Lustre. Also for the body, I use casting method. And the background is my painting about the galaxy. And I like this project because it is difficult for me to use English technique for artworks, but here I think I was successful, just of course in my mind. Okay. The last image is about the mixing both of technique that I explained before. I mean, first time I made the English luster, then I decorated with the clay paste luster over them. At the left side is some of my vessels that I show, I think 3 years or 4 years ago in Gubbio in Italy. And at the right side, you can see again one of my last work that I use, again, same technique for my other project, which was about peace. The title was In Search of Peace. And that's why I wish for all of you also peace. And thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, I try to answer.
Thank you, Abbas. Thank you so much for showing us your technique and your work. That was fantastic.
You are welcome.
Yes, if anyone has questions, the easiest way I think to do this is to type through the chat. I know there's already a couple of things in there to pose. Magdalene Dijkstra, who's a visiting artist here at Concordia, is asking about the luster pigments. And I know there's a variety of different things that you're using in those. But there was in the video, it looks as if you're putting iron, possibly copper. Can you talk a little bit more about the pigments that you use, and maybe specifically in that video you were showing us?
Yes, in clay paste technique, we can, the iron oxide is the important part, is as a clay part. And in clay paste, you can use the 50% or less or more, depend on your recipe. Clay part, which you can use also pure iron oxide is better than clay, I mean terracotta. And other part you can use copper carbonate, copper oxide, copper nitride.
Unfortunately, we are losing your voice.
Mercury is dangerous, you know.
Abbas, if you hear me, can you please turn off your video? I'm sorry, we would love to see your face, but unfortunately the voice is cutting.
Okay, so, okay.
So
okay.
But we hear you well now. Yes, perfect.
Okay, sorry. And for the pigments, I want, as I said, we can use the different kind of pigment. I mean, silver nitride, silver chloride, and silver carbonate, and also copper oxide, copper carbonate, copper chloride, and bismuth, and other things. For information, you can read Lustre Pottery book by Alan Kaiger Smith. He introduced to us two kind of recipes. One of them is active and others inactive. Okay, next question.
So, yeah, go ahead. I'm very curious to know about your the Oriental Devotion, one of your works. If you can tell us about the concept behind that work. Hadi, can you maybe share with us the PowerPoint, the work? Hadi, do you hear us? Okay.
Which one?
The Oriental Devotion, one of the big mihrab, which was reproduced. Yes, go back. Yeah, and the previous one. Yeah, this one.
This one. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, my concept is, as you know, different religion has mihrab, which is a special place for prayer. But in my mind, a mihrab is not just for a kind of a special prayer. For me, it's a kind of for meditation. And that's why when I went to, I want to say a short story. When I went to Art Gallery at that time, I saw this couple in front of my mihrab that I made, and I saw this lover in front of my artworks, and I remember my statement, because as maybe you can read in the image, I wrote, for me, mihrab is the place that we can be lover in front of that. And exactly in the same times I catch this photo. Anyway, in my mind, we go to mihrab to be lover. This is my idea. Okay, I hope it's enough.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm also reading a question from Mariam. Thank you very much for the great presentation. Can you explain about double-walled ceramics, sofal mushabbak, to push in Persian, and its technology? Was it common to use luster for such ceramics?
Yes, yes, you can use a different kind of luster for different kind of ceramics, but also you can use for glass, but just clay paste technique. About double layer, we have in Seljuk period, and we have some sample in Iran. I mean, in glass and Pottery museum, we call it up in a museum. And you can make in wheeling time. I mean, you can make that on the wheel also, but also you can make by mold.
Mhm. Okay.
But I want to say we have before Islam also double layer, and this one is a double layer, as you can show. Yes, if you see there is a small hole at the right side in the left side picture, and there is another theory about this kind of vessels. Some researchers believe these kind of vessels are for keeping the warm the foods. That's because they put the water between two layers. But I'm not sure, because as you know, we must make hole between two layers during drying and firing.
And Abbas, is the durability of these lusters, how durable are they? Or do they work well for functional dining ware, or does the luster come off if you scrub it too hard?
No, can you repeat? Because I lose your voice.
Do people still use lusterware for dining? Does the glaze come off when cleaning?
Yes, no problem. When you can clean, because actually you transfer at home to other glaze. That's why you have no thickness in clay paste luster. When you touch the surface of the glaze, you cannot understand the thickness of the clay paste luster. But in glaze, this is one of important that you asked me, because in English you can feeling the thickness of the glaze. And
I think
one
Matt
more I
is
want.
sorry. I think Matt is wondering if when dining or eating on the food on the bowl, if the glaze will come off. Like, how is the luster? Is it very stable?
Yeah, this is more than other technique stable, because as I said, it is transferring the atom inside of the glaze.
Mhm.
But if you use, I know why you ask like this, because if you use ready resinite like gold, maybe you use, if you're eating something from some vessels that they use gold, real gold, when you want to wash, or maybe during when you want to eating, you lose the gold luster. But in clay paste luster, it's very you can keep it for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is this is from medieval time, 700 at least years old.
Yeah, that's the proof. This is durable. uh,
Sorry,
and,
first time I couldn't understand what you want to ask
oh,
from me.
no, that's fine. There's another question here from Kira asking, how did you learn to make this type of ceramic? Did you learn from other potters, or was it you experimenting with materials and figuring it out? That how you figured it out?
Yeah, I understand. I learned 20 years ago. Sorry, about 28 years ago. I forget my age. 28 years ago, when I went to art university in Tehran. But before I was painter. I come from painting to ceramic. But in same time, I went to the traditional master and I learned the wheeling from him. But for luster, I learned first from my study about old texts. I mean, Arasul Jawahir and other that I found. I mean, Jawahir Nami, Nizami. But also, I want to mention that my master was Alan Kiger Smith, although I never have seen him during my life, but I learned from his book also about Lustre.
Mm-hmm. That's great. There is one last question here. Kianush Motaghedi from Iran is asking, well, first says, thank you very much, Abbas. What is the difference between inglaze technique, the material that I guess is more contemporary, and the typical luster glaze in the 12th to 13th century? I think you mentioned a little bit of this earlier.
Yeah, it's an important question. Actually, I want to say, as I said, clay paste is not real glaze because we don't go to high temperature. It is low temperature. I mean, it's just overglaze decoration. If you go to high temperature, I mean more than 700 degree, you will fuse your pigment with the first glaze, and then you cannot rubbing the pigment, the clay part.
Mm-hmm.
But in English, we mixing the pigment, I mean, for example, copper oxide, with the standard fluid, like the transparent fluid, then we go to 1000 degree at least. So actually we make glaze. So it's not the clay paste. So this is just one different, but other things about the quality of the luster and also the possibility for painting in clay paste technique, but in English, just you can make as a template color. Of course, you can paint with English, but not a very fine line.
Yeah, and I guess you were describing going to quite low temperatures. When in the video, when we see inside the kiln, it looks like there are metal bars that are propping things up. I guess that is just because we're going at such low temperatures that you can have those metal bars in there.
Yeah, as you saw, I put the shelf with metal. But if I put shelf with metal in the high temperature, it's melting.
Yeah.
But in low temperature, there is no problem. And this is my idea, because when you use a ceramic shelf, you cannot take good result, because smoke must turning during reduction, and metal shelf lets to us to do that.
Aha, interesting, really interesting. There's one other question here. Thank you so much. This is from Martina Rugiadi. Thank you so much for the presentation. I wonder if there are archaeological evidence in Kashan about luster production in medieval times. I remember in the early 2000s visiting 2 excavated kilns, but there was no indication that luster was being produced there.
Sorry, what is the question? I couldn't understand.
I guess the question is wondering whether or not there's archaeological evidence in Kashan about luster production in medieval times.
But the problem is, we have a lot of earthquakes in Kashan during several times. The last one, it was just 3 days before, but okay, in low Richter, just 3 Richter. That's why we lose a lot of documentary. And I'm so happy because 2 years ago, I found all the kiln from Mongol period. But unfortunately, it's not for luster firing. It's just for normal firing. That's why we have no archaeological sites for luster. But we have some broken pieces. Usually we find when we want to renovate in all the houses from Qajar time. The people find a lot of broken pieces from Mongol and also Seljuk times.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Abbas, so much for sharing.
Thank you too also, and thank you for giving me this time to talk with you and other friends.
Oh, it was our pleasure. Thank you all for joining us. And
yeah, thank you, everybody. We do have lots of. It's a pleasure to welcome you from all over. We had wonderful guests from Italy, from Cairo, from Tehran, and from Montreal. This is a good thing about Zoom. I'm just want to apologize about the internet. Sometimes it's cut, so we had to turn off our videos. But thank you, Matt. Sorry, I interrupted you. And if there is any more question, please ask. Otherwise, we wish you a very, very nice spring in front. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and I wish to work together in real space.
Yes, me too. It would be
Yes.
fun to fire that Lustre kiln together.
Yes, maybe who knows about future, maybe in Kashan.
Yeah, I would love that, Abbas.
So I'm waiting for all of you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
Abbas.
much.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.